Have you ever wondered what happened in the month of September in the year of 2000? Probably not, because who would? It's just a random month out of a random year. Who would care much about it? Well, that happens to be the month and year that I was born, and I'd like to go over the costs of some things during that day and time, and maybe some historical events that happened throughout the month. And I'll start off with something that we use in our everyday lives to commute around, and that's gas for cars. Back then, a gallon only cost $1.48, which if you sell that today, that gas station would be swarmed by people trying to get cheap gas. A gallon of milk only costs $2.79, and I wouldn't know because I still live with my parents and I don't buy my own milk yet. Minimum wage was raised after an 18-month debate in Congress from 5.15 an hour to 6.15 an hour across the US. On average, it costs $5,500 for a 2-year institutional degree and $13,000 for a 4-year institutional degree, which today, if you got a 2-year degree for $13,000, you probably either have a lot of scholarships or you found a really good college. And finally, the average household income was $5,500, which has dropped since then to about $4,800, unfortunately. But what about some historical events that happened in the month of September in the year of 2000? Well, I'll start on September 2nd, where Brian Littrell, and I probably just butchered his last name, who is the lead vocalist of the Backstreet Boys, marries at the age of 25, which I never listened to much Backstreet Boys, but I've always heard good things about them from my parents. On September 7th, Eminem wins the MTV Awards for Best Rapper, which at the time he was still developing, but he was a very successful and influential rapper in the early 2000s, so he probably deserved it. 2 days later, on September 9th, Venus Williams, who is the sister of Serena Williams, wins her first U.S. title, beating Lindsay, I think it was Davenport. Yes, Lindsay Davenport, 6-4 and 7-5. On September 12th, Holland makes huge steps for gay rights by creating a law that allows same-gender marriage, adoption, and divorce, which is huge and very progressive in Europe at the time. On September 16th, Sammy Sosa, who is an NBL baseball player, is the second person to hit 50 home runs in 3 consecutive years, which I'm not a big baseball fan, but after researching, I found out that that is actually a huge title to hold. A day later, on September 17th, Dan Marino's number 13 jersey, yes, 13 jersey, is retired by the Miami Dolphins. A day after my birthday, on September 20th, the British MI6 SIS building in London is attacked by a Mark 22 anti-tank RPG. Afterwards, throughout thorough investigations and questioning, have concluded that it was fired by members of the IRAR, which is a Republican army in the late 90s and early 2000s fighting for independence from Britain. Thankfully, there was no fatalities or injuries because the building has been designed to resist such attacks. And the final thing that I like to put up there, and this is probably my personal favorite, an American basketball player named Vince Carter dunked on 7'2" Frederick Weiss in the summer of 2000 Olympics in France. The event has become known as the Dunk of Death, which is a pretty cool name for such an event. So I'm going to wrap things up here, and that's saying that everything was a lot cheaper back then. It definitely was. Eminem was once again awarded for being a successful and talented rapper. Holland takes major steps towards gay equality. A major record in baseball is set. A jersey number is retired and never to be worn again. And a legendary moment in Olympic sports is born. I'd like to thank you all for listening to what happened in the month of September in the year of 2000.